So, what we have learned so far in the graphing realm is we have done vertex form, which is the one with the parentheses where you complete the square. We just did standard form, which is when it just looks like a big line, A, B, and C. And then this is the last one, which is factored form. So if it's already been factored for you, how do you graph that without having to multiply it all out and then use the standard form? Because we don't want to do that. We just want to be able to look at a graph and factor it. Look at the factored form and graph it from there. So how do we know, just looking at this, that it's going to be a parabola? Like,
x squared. There's 2x.
Because if you factor it, it's whatever.
yeah, so I've got 2x's. If I were to actually multiply this out, it would be an x squared equation. So it's a parabola because it's x squared. That's what makes it a parabola. Because if it were just 1x, then it would be a line. So, and you could also say it has a degree of 2, if that's another way to write it.
No.
Does the parabola open up or down? What do we think?
I think it opens down.
Because there's a negative.
It might be up. Because the x squared is
Positive x squared.
Positive x squared. And imagine that there's like an imaginary 1 in front. It's positive. So it opens up. Because positive. If there were a negative out in front, that would make it point down. What are the zeros or the x-intercepts of the function?
-2 and +4.
Good. -2, so I'm going to put a point at -2 and then +4 because you set each one equal to 0. So x equals -2, x equals +4. Or you could write them as ordered pairs. What would those ordered pairs be? Good.
And why would you just swap the signs?
Why? Because you're setting each parenthesis equal to 0. So remember solving in the last unit?
You just take that and do -2, so x is equal to -2. Yeah.
Okay, use the information above to sketch the graph. So we know that it's going to be pointing up, so it's going to make a parabola that looks like a U. But we don't know what that vertex is going to be. So let's brainstorm some ideas where we think it's going to be.
The axis of symmetry should be x equals 1.
How do we know that?
Because
Because it's in the middle. Good. So I've got a dashed line.
Anywhere else but the middle, I'm quitting right now.
It's in the middle because they're mirror images of each other. And if my axis of symmetry is 1, so how could I figure out what the y value is?
Can't you plug?
Plug in
Yes.
one into every
Yes.
X.
Plug in 1 for x.
Oh, so it's just x plus 1 plus 2 and then 1 minus 4?
So wait, which value, which A, B,
Oh
or
my
C are
goodness,
we plugging?
what are we?
We're plugging in this axis of, this is my axis of symmetry.
So would that be 3 times -3?
To find my vertex, I'm going to plug in 3, or I'm sorry, not 3. I'm going to plug in 1 into my x value up here. So 1 plus 2 times 1 minus 4, which would be 3 times -3, which is -9.
Remember, that doesn't fit. Yes.
Just put it down here, and I will let you get by with this one, because I'm a nice person.
Thank you. For Christmas on the test, when we have graphs that fit.
No,
Yes. What?
you should have to be able to know how to scale them.
Why?
Yeah, well,
I know.
I'm not going to take the
Scale
time.
them as
I'm not going to,
small.
every graph is going to be the same. I'm not going to take the time. Just know how to scale it.
It makes you second guess your answer.
Please tell me
No.
you're joking. She has
Just
to
know
be
up front that not every graph is going to fit.
joking.
That will not make you second guess.
Okay, do these chairs get considerably more uncomfortable?
Okay, what are my zeros? What are my zeros? Plus or minus 1/2. Because I'm setting each one equal to 0. So 1/2, 0, and -1/2, 0. I'm gonna plot my points.
Axis of symmetries. You would count if we just put plus or minus one, right?
I want them in ordered pairs.
Oh, dang it.
Or you could say x equals plus or minus 1/2. But if you just put plus or minus 1/2.
She set the two parentheses equal.
My axis of symmetry would be what?
0.
X equals 0.
Oh my god.
Don't just put numbers, because I don't know what they mean. I don't know what they mean. What is 0? What is 0? Is it x equals 0? Is it y equals 0? Is it a equals 0? I have no idea what you mean when you just put 0. I don't.
You just put like y equals 0, and then it'll be x equals 0, and then for the x's, or for the y's,
It's always x equals. Just remember that. Okay, what's my vertex? How do I figure that out?
Plug in.
You plug in
Plug in
0.
0.
So is it 0, 1, 0, negative 1?
Nope, there's only one vertex.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so hungry.
When I plug in 0 for x,
-1.
I get 1 times -1, which is -1.
I always forget to do that.
Wait, how does that
Does that mean that
Oh, see, I got it. Yep.
And I don't need to worry about another point here. That was just for copied and pasted from the standard form.
Did that sound?
It's in a phone box. One.
It's Disney. 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 Tommy?
Such a funny idea.
Why does Disney own ESPN?
Tommy, refrain.
Another point?
Disney is a monopoly.
Disney honestly owns everything. It's scary.
Dude, I want to go to Disney World so bad. I haven't been in Disney World since the 3rd grade.
I don't think that's
So what I want you to do is look at A through E, and I want you to answer true or false for these questions.
Oh, no! How am I supposed to
you're really close.
So axis of symmetry is at x equals 2. That is true because it's the midpoint between -2 and 6. Vertex is 2 and then f of 2. What this means, we have to think way back to unit 1. F of 2 is the function when x equals 2. So like, what is my y value when x equals 2? That's what f of 2 is. It's the y value when you're plugging in 2 for x, which is what we're doing to find the vertex. So that makes this a true statement.
So that would be like 2 squared plus 2 plus 2.
Mm-hmm. It would be like when you're plugging in 2. We don't know a, b, or c. They're just letters right now. We don't even know the actual function. But we do know that the vertex would be 2, comma, whatever y is when we plug in 2. Then C, A is less than 0. Well, it is it opens up, so that means we need to have a positive A value. So that would be a false statement. It would be negative. C is less than 0. Well, I have a negative y-intercept. So that would be true. So I have a negative y-intercept. So that makes C less than 0. And then finally, f of 1 equals f of 3. So what that's saying is the y value at 1 is the same as the y value at 3. Since they're both equal distance from the axis of symmetry, and everything is reflective upon the axis of symmetry, then they're going to have the same y value. So however far away they are, they're always going to have the same y value if they're equal distance away.